Today, I dropped my Z Flip 5. I was in class, I had my Z Flip 5 on the table, and I reached down to grab my tablet out of my backpack, came out and elbowed the Z Flip 5. This thing went flying. There may have been a slight exaggeration in that story. The point is, the Z Flip 5 went from this height basically and hit the ground. With that being said, I want to start off talking about how the physical body of this device has been over the past month. Obviously, we have a bigger outer display. We have the same folding inner display, so there's a lot more that can go wrong. So first of all, to get started, we're gonna go around the physical body, and I just want to start off with the hinge because this is something that, we've done for the Z Flip, the Z Flip 3, the Z Flip 4. We always start off with the hinge, and I will say that this hinge is very similar to the hinge on the Z Flip 4 in that both of them have been or were pretty sturdy, and this is no exception. So this hinge is also quite tight. There's a little bit of flex, just a little bit, like the tiniest amount of flex there, but honestly that's supposed to be there. So I know a lot of people bring that up, that hey, my hinge is flexible. That's actually not bad, that's not abnormal, that's supposed to be there. The one thing that is a concern if it happens is if the hinge starts making noise. This happened with my Z Flip 4 after like 3 or 4 months, and it happened with my Z Flip 3. Primarily it's when dust and other grime starts getting into the hinge. That's when you're opening and closing it, you're gonna hear this crushing sound, and that could probably be, something pretty major down the road. But for now, 1 month later, and I'm going to talk about my usage, but so far the hinge has been very, very smooth. Take a listen. If you don't hear anything, that's a good thing. That just goes to show how smooth this hinge is. So this case was on and it fell cover screen first down. Everyone heard it. It was pretty loud, but when I picked it up, the cover screen was perfectly fine. Inner display was perfectly fine as well. So yes, it took a 3 foot or a 2 foot drop and it was fine. Now, before we get into the two displays and talk about how they've been over the past month, please smash that subscribe button. It really helps grow a small channel like this one. And also, we have an Instagram as well. Follow the mandem, please. If you like this video, please smash the like button. If you dislike the video, please smash the dislike button. And let me know in the comment section below how I can improve. It really helps me out. Also, I get asked this a lot, but what wallpaper am I using? Don't worry, I've got my wallpapers linked down below. I like to custom design my wallpapers because I am extra. And so they're available for you to download. Just go check them out in the description below. Now, one thing you need to know that's super important is I'm going to, as usual, focus on my experience over the past month. Now, for the display, let's start with the inside screen. And the first major thing that stands out isn't even the display, it's going to be the fingerprint scanner. So the fingerprint scanner is pretty good. It's been very consistent over the past month. I really haven't had any issue with that. The problem though is with the facial recognition, the camera that's on the top. The problem with the facial recognition isn't that it doesn't unlock when I look at it. The problem is that it unlocks even when other people are looking at the display. That's kind of a big problem because, when I flip this phone open in public, people ask me all the time, hey, is that the new one? Can I take a look? And they'll take a look. Now I have personal, files, make of that what you will. And so they're just going through my phone and I just look at it unlock all of a sudden. And it's like, whoa, can I have it back, please? You start sweating, it's privacy, come on now. But it's not really a major concern for me. So all of that aside, let's get started with the crease. There's a crease here. And on the Z Flip 3 and the Z Flip 4, the crease never made any visual impact, and it doesn't make any impact on the Z Flip 5 either. It's still there, but it doesn't get in the way of any kind of entertainment. The display, however, in general, super vibrant. The colors pop, they're delicious. You cannot go wrong with the beauty of this color, okay? The display, it's a Samsung display, it's going to be gorgeous. And so whether you're watching anime, it doesn't matter if it's on YouTube, on any sketchy website, it's going to look very, very nice. So the colors, the vibrancy is there. One upgrade over the Z Flip 4 that I've noticed is that it does get a little bit brighter. And I've especially noticed this, not even outdoors, but in my car. So with the Z Flip 4, when I was in my car, I would always use Google Maps. I use that with any of my phones. And so when I take it out and I had to put Google Maps on, I would generally have to go maximum brightness on the Z Flip 4 to get Google Maps to be somewhat visual so that I could drive and know where I'm going. But with this phone, I can go up to like 50% brightness and see the colors just fine. They're not super bright still, but the contrast is a little bit more enhanced, so it's a little bit easier to see everything as far as the app is concerned. And finally, the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to the inner display is this screen protector. Now, You might even notice that there's kind of a little bit of grime around the screen protector. I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see that really well like this, but the screen protector is still there. Like, it's still very visual. When I do give it to people because they want to check out the phone, they're always like, is that a screen protector? Did you put on a screen protector? And I've always got to be like, no, I didn't put on a screen protector on my phone. It came like that. So that's just something that I hope Samsung figures out and ends up removing, hopefully sometime soon. The small issue I have with the screen protector is that, guys, I don't have big nails, but sometimes what ends up happening is they will get caught on the edges of the screen protector itself, and it hasn't happened yet. Like, there's no peeling whatsoever on the screen protector out on any of the edges. When my nail does get caught in that screen protector, it just gets me a little bit anxious. You know, I just end up feeling like, oh, okay, this time I definitely peeled. But so far it's been perfectly fine. So I just wanted to bring that up. As far as the display is concerned, no scratches, no problem, absolutely nothing wrong with the inner display. Let's go ahead and talk about the outer display. Now, as far as the apps and functionality and maxing out the multitasking, I've made a whole separate video talking about some of the best hacks you need to download and enable for the Z Flip 5. I'll leave that in the description below. Definitely check that video out because that goes over a lot of what I'm doing on this phone. But on the outer display, I'm primarily using this for apps like Maps, for WhatsApp, talking to my property managers, cleaners, or business managers, Airbnb to message guests and things like that. In fact, like, I already have an Airbnb message on this phone, so there's a lot of that happening as well. Google Maps, as you can see on the top, YouTube Studio to reply to comments or to see where my videos are at, to look at YouTube analytics. The point is, this outer display is handling everything. It's handling all of my productivity with no problem at all. And the fact that I can do it on the screen this tiny, like, you know, sometimes when you're sitting in lecture and the class is small and you get your phone out, you piss off the instructor. But with a phone like this, like, I can easily, you know, just have it down here like this, and or even on top, like it's so small it can hide very easily. And I'm not saying do anything criminal with it, you know, other than that, I don't know, say that. But what I'm trying to say is this outer display is a lot more functional if you want it to be. Now, granted, the keyboard is going to be smaller, but the biggest advantage to the outer display being this functional, in my opinion, the biggest advantage is that I'm not wasting time. I'm not getting distracted. Unlike a traditional slab phone like the S23 Ultra, I might open up something like Gmail and, you know, I'm going through my Gmail, I'm replying to an email, and then I see TikTok and I'm like, hey, let's start scrolling through TikTok, and I go through that, and then I see YouTube and I open up YouTube and I go through YouTube Shorts, and I've just wasted an hour scrolling through a bunch of these apps.
The key is to be honest with yourself.
When it comes to the Z Flip 5 with a cover display that's this functional, there's so much that I can do. It limits me. It's like I open up WhatsApp on the cover display to answer a property manager, and that's it. I don't go into TikTok. I can't go into Instagram. I don't have those on my cover display. And so it's only super important things where I will actually, you know, that overcome that flipping threshold, where I'll flip the phone open and decide to work on it with the inner display. So that's where it saves me a bunch of time from getting distracted and going into those scrolling apps. And this has been a historical feature, super underrated in my opinion, but I brought this up historically. So I brought this up for the Z Flip 3 and the Z Flip 4. Gaming is super fun, although I'm not like a huge gamer or anything like that. It's still a lot of fun, but the important thing when it comes to gaming is there's games like Crossy Road, which are super easy. You can play this on the outer display. It's a lot of fun still to play on the outer display, but if you're playing games on the inner display that do require full screen, like racing games or shooting games or something like that, you want to make sure you're getting the right case, because this phone is longer and narrower than most other phones. And so if you get the wrong case, it's going to get very uncomfortable. And it's also harder to reach all the way to the center if that's something you need to do. Now, I have very big like hands, like they're actually massive. But you get my point. So for gaming, it's a very different, at least for me, it's a different aspect ratio. And so it's long and narrow. And for some games, it just might not be the most comfortable point of view, especially point of view games where you can see a lot more of the landscape, but you can't see a lot of height. For something like the S23 Ultra, obviously, you're going back to a more regular aspect ratio that game designers keep in mind. So just know that most games won't really be optimized for a display this long and narrow. And also when it comes to gaming, I think the other thing we could talk about is heating. And I can also kind of like bring in wireless charging with this, because those are the only 2 times I've experienced heating on this phone. Now, it's never been like an overheating issue, not at all. So don't think of it like that. It's only been, you know, where it just heats up a little bit. So if it's wirelessly charging or if I'm gaming, after like 30 minutes for both, it starts heating up just a little bit, just enough to where you're like, oh, it's warm. And one interesting thing to note is when I'm plugging it in to charge, it usually charges faster and there's a lot less heating when I actually like plug it in versus when I wirelessly charge. Something to think about. Okay. Before you leave, 2 more things. There's 2 more things I want to talk about in my 1-month update. The last 2 things about this phone, first of all, the speakers. The speakers are absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. If you want a little bit more out of your speakers, you can go ahead and enable Dolby Atmos, which is going to give you a little bit more vibrancy. It's going to give you a little bit more clarity. It's gonna add a little bit more bass. So if you want that, go ahead and enable that. But for the most part, for me, when I'm watching anime, when I'm watching K-drama or P-drama or J-drama or I-drama, you get the idea, okay? It's perfectly fine. Now, obviously, when it comes to viewing things like that, which aren't on YouTube and they're made for TV or regular displays, you're gonna get big black bars on the side. You just kind of get used to it. It hasn't really been an issue for me. I'm not indulging myself when it comes to entertainment on this. When I want to do that, it's going to be on the TV, right? Or my laptop or something like that. So as far as I'm concerned, you know, if it's an hour-long episode, this is fine. I'll just watch it on this and get it over with. And when it comes to the mic as well, no problem there. The mic, if you're doing calls or if you're doing Zoom calls, the mic is perfectly fine for both scenarios. But that leads me to the final point in this video. 1 month later, how has the camera been, both the inside and the outer camera? Well, first let's talk about the outer camera, and this is where, you know, it's a little bit lacking, but the only reason I say that is because I'm coming from the S23 Ultra. Obviously, it's gonna be lacking. On the Z Flip 5, you only get 10 times zoom. While on the S23 Ultra, you can zoom into someone's purse 100 miles away, which is just, that's phenomenal and a little bit criminal, I don't know. But you get the idea. When it comes to the S23 Ultra or any other flagship smartphone, these cameras are going to be a little bit more lackluster, and the only upgrade over the Z Flip 4 is that they upgraded some physical mechanic hardware. Nothing on the software has been upgraded, and as far as the hardware upgrades are concerned, it's just minimizing camera flare. That's about it. So there hasn't been any major changes since the Z Flip 4 to the camera, and so it does feel just a little bit dated. You know, you don't really want to feel that 1 month into the phone that some major aspect is getting dated. It's not really going to be an issue for most people, I don't think, but the reason it was an issue for me is because after having used the S23 Ultra for like 10 months, you kind of get used to being able to zoom in as much as you want, as much as humanly possible, and seeing things that your eyes couldn't even see. So like you start using those things and those features on the Ultra, and then you come to the Z Flip 5, you're gonna feel that, you know, lacking. But if you're coming from the Z Flip 4 or the regular S23 or S22, you're probably not gonna have that experience. And so the video calls, yeah, the inner display or the inner camera is also honestly almost the same as last year, and so there's no really big problem. They both work fine. Zoom calls and WhatsApp calls with friends and family have been fine using the inner display or the inner camera. Now, you can use the cover screen to do calls with people, but I just found that it doesn't look as good because the other people, whoever you're calling, is gonna show up like super tiny. You can barely see yourself, and this camera is probably gonna pick up all your pores as well. Obviously they're not gonna be transmit, but the point is that when you just flip it open like this is a lot more easier to do and to have a call with someone than to use the outer display and the cover screen. Just something I picked up over the 1 month. But that's it, guys. That's it. Small problems, small wins, small little things I've noticed and picked up. So far, no major issues to report. I'm going to be talking about other elements and other aspects of the phone over my 2, 3, 4 month update. So stay tuned for all of that. If something does happen, hopefully nothing major happens, but if it does happen, you guys are going to be in the know. The latest as far as my trade-in is concerned, because I did trade in my iPhone 13 Pro Max for this. Samsung just got my trade-in today, so I haven't been able to hear back if they've accepted it. You guys saw the trade-in. If you saw my like 2 videos ago, it was in perfect condition. So like you guys saw me pack up the iPhone and all of that. So we'll see if they, accept it or not. But make sure to smash that subscribe button. Again, it really helps grow a small channel like this one. I'm going to see you in the next one. Take it easy. Peace.